Okay. Um, so let me see how this works. Okay. I think I have most of this correct. So let me see how this works. Uh-oh. Okay. I think I have most of this correct. So let me see how this works. Uh-oh. Okay. I think I have most of this correct. So let me see how this works. Uh-oh. Okay. I think I have most of this correct. So let me see how this works. Uh-oh. Okay. I think I have most of this. Okay. There. No more feedback. All right. Let's see what else. Well, clearly I'm on. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this one done today. And why did I don't know why on earth. Let me see. I might can. Nice. So this comes to download. I need to be able to see. No, wrong one. Okay. What about? Oh, this one. Yeah. All right. So, all right. So basically, okay. So that's the gentleman who we're talking about. That's the cardinal we're talking about. I mean, like, okay. So at the very top, where you see the signature for the sign for Cancer, you see that there's a conjunction with Uranus and Jupiter. Both of them are in retrograde. Now, this is a time, I mean, he has so many retrograde points. He knows the secrets, insides, and out. He knows how public image works. He knows um, how to flow. He knows how to maneuver. He knows how to transcend on the other side. He even knows how to, well, definitely, he is kept to secrecy. There's no doubt about that. Um, but what I was picking, what it really looking at was his Mars. When I was in the last live, I did say his Jupiter was in conjunction with another planet. I couldn't, I was able to grasp it fully, but yes, it's Uranus, which by the way is this represents this year in the sign of the sign for astrological sign Cancer. Of course, Mars planet, by the way, is his Mars planet is in his sign or Aries sign, which that's Aries planet, and of course we enter into Aries season. Oh yes, very organized. We talked about like home, and I know some people think of like the church as one's home, and so with that said, this is the first time that I'm actually looking at his what do you call it? This is the first time like what do you call it? First reaction to this post. So okay, um, I could post article. It's midnight. I just cleared my shift, you guys. So bear with me. Okay, so this was released yesterday. So yeah, the cardinal who quoted Barudelin could become the new pope. Cardinal Parolin is well aware of the situation in Belarus. Okay, the authoritative Italian newspaper La Stampa believes that Cardinal Pietro Parolin, the 17-year-old Vatican Secretary of State, could be elected as the new pope. The publication named him as one of the main contenders. The election of the pontiff will take place at a conclave due to convene in May. Okay, writes Catholic Life. All right, and it says Cardinal Parolin is well known in the former Soviet Union and is also well versed in the situation in Eastern Europe. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. He's in all of. He says and he was. He has paid official visits to Belarus, Ukraine, and Russia. So like, look how he flows. That's what I was talking about. Like he's into the whole secrecy thing. He's very like the public image is like booming. Like he knows like the intricate details, how to turn things around information wise. He's also he is unaffected by the how sometimes people get when uh, they're in a cause and then they forget about the cause and more they become consumed in themselves. Not him. He flows very well in this space. In fact, he actually like his path is to flow in order to transcend whatever the circumstances are. Oh, by the way, most importantly, they also said that okay, let's look at this. I want to look at his Sagittarius. Something about the friendship. Yes, his Venus. By the way, Venus is dominant this year, channeling Libra all of 2025. Well, his Venus is in Sagittarius. He is a dear friend to the to the other astrological signs around him. So this definitely would make for an interesting candidate becoming um, the Pope. Okay, so the successor. Okay, so the last communication of the um, Belarusian hierarchs, okay, with the cardinal took place just 2 months ago as Metropolitan of Minsk and Mochiliv Archbishop Joseph Stanivsky told then Cardinal Parolin was interested in the concrete life of, it says, oh, it's in quotations, the concrete life of our believers and at the same time our society. That's what I'm talking about. The concrete life of our believers. Yeah, definitely, deep into the mystery of things. At the same time, there's the catch. Um, our society, he can handle the pressures of like the obscurity of the lifestyle unaffected by it. Wow. Other okay, more quotations. Wonderful. There were personal questions which I did not suppose that he could know. Okay. Seeing my surprise at the question, he explained, "This is the Vatican. Of course I know." Ooh, that's what I'm talking about. Man knows his secrets, and he keeps the secrets. And listen to his look how he responded. This is the Vatican. Seeing my surprise at the question, he explained, "This is the Vatican." He says, which I did not suppose that he could know. So there were personal questions, which I did not suppose that he could know. Then he says, seeing his surprise at the question, he explained, "This is a Vatican. Of course I know." I didn't know this is the first time I'm reading this. I'm shocking myself. How did I do that? This is okay. I looked at his star chart. This is a first impression reading the article. So okay, wow, and that is very specific. Okay, so it says in 2015. Okay, so let's see. We got to think. All right, so 2008. Okay, crashes. Okay, Pluto doing its thing. 14, yeah, when it was 2014, that was the climb up. In fact, that was a time I actually, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. That was the first time that I actually came across the whole of ficus, and I remember when on the like the fourth. Well, actually, it was 2010, and then I had to kind of like trick my brain into forgetting about it because if you're counting up from 10 all the way to the 24th, there you go. And then when it became 2012, we know that that was when we were saying, okay, it's a ficus. What about that? Age of Aquarius. Okay, 12 more years. And then 2014, that means okay. So we knew at 2014, I was saying, okay, this is the ultimate countdown. But we're talking about year to year, not like hour to hour, minute by minute, or day. But no, it was year to year. So 2014, every year we're saying, okay, we're almost to 2020. We're getting climbing up to 2024. It's because I wanted to be here. This is the a time that they were talking about. Wow, for like since well, definitely in the 60s, but I'm pretty sure even before the 60s. We just say the 60s. That's when it became more or less become widespread, and people are becoming interested in the whole concept of what Aquarius and transformation is about and all that. Okay, which that means okay. So if they would have brought the Christian, as they say, the Christian sciences over, and Jung brought over, his studies from the East around. That means a decade, and then of course it becomes a part of culture according to the good plan of Young again. But I'm sure, but we always say we attribute that to Young, but there's other people contributed. I guess we contribute that to Young, but there I'm pretty sure obviously all the other people who are bringing over like Christian sciences and metaphysics, all of that, all those people count. But it's the go-to definitely. Young sort of sets it up, as an authority that look, I know where I don't like. I mean, I know where America's going. They're going to go in that sort of gray, um, you know, sitting at the cubicle and like be like robots, like and said, let me get them this information and they'll know what to do with it. Meditation, mysticism, and of course it was, protected by his education and background in psychology. So that's why I like to actually I like of course I like obviously I like Jung, have respect for him, but I also like Aristotle. Now, what's interesting about this whole Aristotle thing? Aristotle actually coined not only coined, but he also wrote the book of metaphysics, and they take him completely out of my I've never read a metaphysical studies that used him as like let's say like a reference. They'll use like more modern scholars, but then you're like, well, then where did they get it from? And then sometimes there's dialogue, and you say, well, where did they get that spiritual dialogue from? And then you find out they're really just quoting the Bhagavad Gita. So it's like, if they're not giving you biblical scriptures, they're giving you literally scriptures from the Bhagavad Gita, which is spelled accurately, including the capitalization of every word. But that's not to knock it. That's what we're supposed to do. But that's a nice. I mean, the nice place to begin is a nice opener about the material that say, look, if you want to know more, this sort of language, why not read the Bhagavad Gita? The same as they would big up any other holy book, like let's say the Old Testament, or well, rather the Old Testament, more like the Jesus Christ's teachings, specifically as he is the master metaphysician. Okay, so anyway, so in 2015, at a meeting with young people in Minsk, pictured a Cardinal Parolin. Wow, young people. See, you know what that is? That's definitely his Mars in Aries. Aries is for the forever young group. Everybody knows that's the eternal life sign, the fountain of youth, energy that never runs out. Cardinal Parolin quoted the people's poet of Belarus, Rajor Baradillan, admitting that he was shocked by his poems. Well, nice. Okay. And at the talks with the authorities, the cardinal then said that the Holy See was ready to help Belarus' aspiration for greater openness towards the European Union, okay, and the rest of the world. Now, I do recall that um, he is Italian, okay. It says because the Vatican's policy is governed by the conviction that difficulties should be solved not through isolation but through dialogue. See, that's also why I'm attracted to him. I was meditating on this very statement that he's making, because like, why not all the other candidates from different parts of the world? I'm so happy that they're getting at least an opportunity to see where eventually they're heading, as someone will one day be elected. But to be honest, when I imagine the Pope, and because the Hierophant, which is one of our tarot cards, it's the fifth tarot card, I believe, and that card is special. That card it teaches that someone who understands the entire world. It isn't just based on one group. It isn't about what like I want like we want like a pope that can speak profoundly, not somebody who can say what the next you know person who may have a very narrow view of the world can say, because anybody can say um, you know the biased, and anybody can say the bigotry, and anyone can say any of those things, and anyone can be the gray pessimist, and quoting, word for word, verbatims. Anybody can do that. You get that anywhere. There are people who aren't even ordained who do that all day long. You know, so I like he said it, and all I have to do is just read this quote. It says, "The Vatican policy is governed by the conviction." There's that word right there, conviction, that difficulties, that when there are difficult issues that come up, you know, why lean to where the populace lean, like where the most people lean? I mean, in the if you're in the position of the Pope, and it says, so conviction that difficulties should be solved. Difficulties should be solved. That means there should be difficult uh, questions or difficult solutions to reach through a series of problem solving. And it says, and not through isolation, not like see, that one right there. So to narrow it down, why I'm really liking him versus everyone else in the world, because he's not like he says, uh, problem solving and not through isolation. It's like there's still much of the world to encounter. There's still much more world to influence, because if you're going to be the Pope is, is said to actually be of course, in the biblical it says the Pope is the representation of Christ, and we think of Christ as being um, not colorless, but of all colors. Um, not necessarily having a distinct, identifiable image, but that an image on a personal level that a person could see themselves in the Christ, being all of that. But most importantly, that it isn't like this is my region, and so we're going to shroud put have everyone wear the shroud of our experience as is opposed I mean rather than as what I believe this Pope understands that the Christ represented everybody, and it didn't matter who come to Christ, that he just like his father, because Yahweh could also extend beyond the barriers, beyond the walls of Israel, and he proved that when he sent Cornelius, and he sent um, well, yes, he sent Paul. He sent Paul, no, excuse me, I'm sorry, not Paul. He sent, well, yeah, he did kind of send Paul, but he sent Peter. Peter and Cornelius. He sent he sent Cornelius, and so it was Peter who he sent outside to meet with someone very special, to sit with that person, and they were outside of the, as you would say, outside of the influence. I was like, wow, God, you can act outside the influence of Israel, and you can, um, like, he can extend himself to Rome, because he had talked, and that was a big thing between when he's talking with, I believe that when Peter was talking with Paul, and he's explaining that, he says, "Yeah, I'm going over here, and I'm going to sit with. I know that they're not going to have food that I would normally eat, but God, of course, God through meditation said, you eat as they eat. When in Rome, you're going to be safe. You're going to be okay. That food is blessed." And not only that, he went to the roof, and in meditation he revealed himself through the spirit, so even so that means he signifying that he has influence outside of Israel. That's my whole point in that. And so when Christ was doing his when he was healing beyond the allotted days, he was healing on the private day, the day that's exclusive for people to maybe stand up and preach. He was over there taking all the limelight, and a woman who wasn't even Israel, and he tested to see where her heart is. He knew that she is. He knows that she's Semitic. He knows that she's a believer and all that. And she said, "Oh, no, no, you can do it, because yeah, it's about everybody. Anybody who comes for the healing. Of course, there's a sort of like a phrase that people can manipulate, because they'll say the words that Jesus said, but they'll say it in a discouraging way, and of course it's not what he, because leaving out the part that he said, "Wow, lady, you have so much faith, your prayer is granted." So I really don't like when people do that to the scripture. But I know that then I say, well, why am I getting frustrated over something like that? Because people are going to do that all the time, um, and they're going to get it wrong, and they're going to deliberately get it wrong. But is that really something to get upset about? Only thing is because I read it from Hebrew into English, so it just blows my mind. I'm like, when people miss the point, and so it's a big deal. It comes across like like a big deal for me. I'm saying I don't understand how you missed that revelation. So anyway, then he goes on to say, but through dialogue, which means interacting with other people on a universal level, not just representing Africa, not just representing, it might be China, it might be Japan, it might be North Korea, it might be South Korea, or it might be the Philippines, but it might be Russia. This might be a lot of other places. Denmark. He's not just representing the EU, but to stand in the seat of the Pope. Like the last Pope, they said that he visited like 67 countries over a course of 12 years. He's representing the world, not just his own people or nor is it just his people's values. Just because, yeah, well, I can get my people to apply, because every you got to imagine every country have their own 1 million people. So if you're thinking, oh well, I can get a million applause right now, well, you would have, okay, in the Pope Francis shoes, you'd have like, okay, so you have like 66 more to go. 66 million more people. Just, I mean, if we're thinking that limited, I just want my people to clap for me. But I mean, that works. That works if you're the president, if you're a monarch. That, of course, if you're the chief, you've got your people. That's cool, But but the Pope signifies, is a representation of Christ, and Christ is more dealing on the global, or like world level, and the world level's faith and their connection, obviously their connection to to God. That's gonna be the job. That's the job. So that's why I'm really drawn to this one. And besides, it's Venus. Is Venus? Where is his Venus? His Venus is in Sagittarius. Good friend to people. They seem to like him. Okay, so there's that. Look at it. This is him as a cardinal, way back there. Well, I know there's mega church people, but look at me. He looks so happy, like right there. He doesn't even look miserable or nothing. I'd be like, the fuck? I mean, but look at him. Like he flows with that. And he started at age 14 when he entered seminary. 14. Like he's made for this stuff. Although also across on, like from Pope Francis on the other side, I have a feeling that Pope Francis would want him, this gentleman here. What's his name again? I want to get his name correct. Pietro Parolin, to become the next pope. I have a feeling that he wants him to. I feel it. I absolutely do. From the other side, that Pope Francis would want. Okay, Pietro Paul 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 Parolin. Pietro Parolin. Cardinal Pietro Parolin. To be, I believe, um, ascended Pope Francis wants, this candidate, Cardinal Pietro Parolin, to become the new pope. I think to succeed him. I absolutely 1,000% feel that way. I heard it also. So it says in general, the Secretary of State has met with, Belarusian bishops at the Vatican on more than one occasion. At one such meeting, the cardinal expressed deep, okay, in quote, deep concern about the condition of foreign clergy who have difficult, what? Hold on, in quotes. I was just talking about this. Deep concern about the condition of foreign clergy who have difficulties in obtaining permission to serve in Belarus, as well as the impossibility for priests visiting the country to serve the Eucharist without authorization from the authorities. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Like he's saying, like similar some of the things that I'm mentioning. Like, okay, so there are, he says, deep concerns about, okay, so like foreign clergy, they may do right quite well where they're from, okay, but like he seems that he's going to serve very well in terms of like the universalities where all the intersections meet. Well, okay, so the tarot card, that represents the Hierophant, it's got the Pope in the center and two people on either side representing rich, poor. It represents, the different social class, educated, less educated, um, you know, all of those elements, Republican and Democrat, polarities, in society, but also the mediation between the two and the love exchange, because that's also represents Taurus, the beauty of the church, and also, of course, Venus represents the love and humanity. So, okay, so let's see. It says the cardinal then asked rhetorically. Okay, he didn't want to be answered back. Okay, whether there was anywhere else in the world something like this. According to the cardinal, it says this state of affairs is unacceptable. Okay, interesting, interesting. Okay, and what else he had to say? That was it. And that's all I wanted to share very quickly. So anyway, so that's what I got from him, and that's why I'm be honest with you, I am kind of more than kind of clearly I'm rooting for him, and I think that he would be okay. So I am going to want to do an actual like the full on astrological look into his chart, which I will do. By the way, I am going to do it. I think it will be fascinating, um, and see what comes up. Okay, so I'm going to end this stream. I do have another stream, but I don't know if I think I'm going to do that one earlier in the morning because I need to kind of like relax and I need to get back focused, get realigned, so I won't I won't stammer so much. When it's time for me to talk to people like across the world because of the magic of technology. It's magical technology. That phone just rings. I pick up and it's like I never know who's. It could be an African accent. It could be a Russian accent. It could be a Polish accent. It could be an Indian accent. It could be an American accent. I never know. So so I need to clear my mind, and I'm gonna try. Oh, by the way, the next one is okay. So they have this little tab that says inspiration. I'm gonna try to see what that's about. So I typed in a one word. I typed in spirituality, and that's what came up. So I didn't even. I think you're supposed to take it and then they're suggesting what you should write about in the description. I just posted the whole thing over there. So because I mean I don't know. I just wanted to see what the inspiration thing tabs is like. So I'll you know, so I think that the conversation is the benefits and how to like effectively utilize the tools meditations as a tool, but they're all types of meditation. So I could have written that in the, but no, I'll talk about it rather than write it down. And of course, they suggest like sharing techniques, and we'll cover. I can't. I mean, there's no way I could cover all the techniques that I know. I know so many, depending on the needs of whomever I'm working with. But I'll use like a few examples, like the comparison of what we call active and passive meditations. Oh, we'll talk about all of that in the next stream.